Hi, we're Darren and Stephanie, and if you're new to our channel, we typically feature international travel. But 2020 introduced us to camping, which is a new hobby that we have fallen in love with. We started out last year with a 2020 RPod 180, which was a great little starting camper, and if you watched our previous video, you will know that we recently traded it for something new. And you can catch in that video the pros and cons of exactly why we did it.
So behind us is that new camper that we mentioned, a 2021 Grand Design Imagine XLS floor plan 22MLE. And it is a 26-foot travel trailer, and there are quite a few upgrades from that RPod we traded from. So let's take a look.
Now, I have watched a lot of camping videos on YouTube, and it seems like most people want to start on the inside, so we'll start on the inside of the Imagine XLS. This queen-size bed that stays down the entire time was one of the big selling features for this floor plan. In our RPod, we had a camping queen size, so it was a little bit shorter, and Darren didn't really fit that well on that bed. He was taller than it was lengthwise, so we kind of had to sleep diagonal. And I have back and neck issues and a couple different surgeries, so I was very excited about a bed that I can walk around. I think this is going to make us a lot more comfortable when we're on the road. We knew what we were getting with the RPod, but as we decided that we wanted to camp more, this was a big step for us. Another big feature for this camper is that there is so much storage. Even surrounding the bed, these storage areas go so far back. We're pretty used to traveling light. We like to use carry-ons when we travel internationally, but we're gonna be super comfortable and we can take kind of, whatever we need on the road.
So Steph's going to finish the tour of the inside, but there's one thing that she couldn't handle, so I'm going to show you that really quickly. It's the under the bed storage here. So while this looks like an unassuming bed, if you lift up on the mattress, there's a sheet of plywood on some struts that allow quite a bit of underbed storage. There's a sliding drawer and then obviously space underneath there. You can see we've got that factory provided bedspread that we probably won't use under there, but really nice storage space just to throw some extras.
One nice little tech feature that's here is there are these cubbies on both sides of the bed that feature USB ports and plugs, so you can have your own little space back in there. So moving to the middle of the camper, we have a 4-person dinette, which is a step up from the RPod. We had a little mini dinette that kind of fit 2 people, and it collapsed down into a bed that slept 1. This also collapses down into a bed. I think you could fit like 1.5 humans, probably not 2 adults, but it's camping, so maybe you could squeeze them in there. This table compared to the RPod just feels so much nicer. And that's one of those features that we really liked about Grand Design, is that every piece of this camper just kind of feels like a little bit higher quality, and so we're excited to see how this does on the road. Everything on this camper seems to be very well thought out, including the control panel, which is conveniently located right here when you step into the camper. You've got your awning, your slide, you can check the level of your tanks, your battery, and then you can switch between gas and electric and control your lights. So it's a pretty central control panel for basically everything in the camper. And then of course you've got your media center here with radio. It's also a factory Roku TV, so we don't have to bring our Roku stick anymore. Opposite the dinette is one of my new favorite features. We have 2 reclining chairs here that are heated and vibrating. They don't go all the way flat, but from what we've heard and seen in the Facebook groups about this camper is that, if you're camping, being like 95% flat is good enough, so you could definitely have people sleep here. We are really excited about the AC in this camper, which is ducted, and compared to our RPod was so loud. It would get cold inside the camper, but you really couldn't talk to anybody. When we were at the dealership, we tested out the AC inside this camper, and it is way quieter. Moving to the back, there's a mirror here, and then let's talk more about this storage. This is the pantry, and there is a lot of space, and I mean, I can't even touch the back of this pantry, so we're gonna have to figure out some way to get some rolling bins or something. but you can pack a lot of food and a lot of items to take on your camping trip. And the drawers, they're not as deep, but they're still pretty deep. One quick thing to notice, above me is an AC vent, and over there is a heat vent. And there are actually no registers on the floor, and Grand Design believes that helps keep dust out of the ductwork. Now let's talk about this kitchen. We are super stoked to have all of this space, and that starts with this refrigerator. Our RPod had a little mini camping fridge that was actually three-way. It was gas, electric, and battery, and a lot of camper models are kind of going that route. Grand Design has not made that jump. It's actually a two-way fridge, so it's electric and gas, but it's going to give us a lot more space. We have the full fridge here, and then the full freezer, so we can finally take ice cream with us when we camp. Moving over from the fridge, you have a microwave here, which on our RPod we actually had a convection oven. This is just a regular microwave, but that's because we have a real oven down here. It's a little mini oven, but for the two of us and camping, that is plenty enough space. And then we also have a gas stove here with 3 burners and quite a bit more space than we had on our RPod. It was almost hard to fit 2 pots on the RPod, even to fit 1 pot on the RPod. So this is going to give us a lot more space. Moving over to the sink area, you will notice that there is a ton of counter space. And so you'll be able to bring along like a coffee pot and still have plenty of room to prepare dinner and meals. You also have a big sink that we can actually fit things in. Our RPod had a little round sink, and we often struggle to fit plates and pots into that sink, so we're excited to have a big, deep sink this time. Again, you still have a lot more storage. You've got big, deep cabinets here. You've got cabinets beneath the sink, you have drawers next to the sink, and you even have this area here to put cleaning supplies or spices. Above me right here is one of 2 vented fans. There's one here and then one in the bathroom. We actually recently made an upgrade to this fan, and we'll show you on the outside of the camper. Last but not least, we have a barn door here that opens to the bathroom. And we're really excited about this because the shower is tall enough for Darren to fit in. It's got a skylight here above it, and so in the RPod, Darren kind of had to hunch over. He still can't fit under the actual nozzle of the shower, but he can stand comfortably up into the skylight. Again, here in the bathroom, you've got a sink, you've got storage underneath, storage next to it, storage above, and then you've got this rack here that you can kind of put towels and other items in, and of course, a nice little toilet for your camping adventures. A few last items before we move to the outside is all of the windows feature nice roller shades, which is a step up from our RPod. Right here when you walk into the camper, there's actually space for you to keep your shoes. And if you want some privacy, there is a curtain here that you can use to close off the bed. Overall, we're very excited to have all this space. Darren and I have 2 60-pound or so dogs. We've wanted to take them camping. They just didn't really fit that well in the RPod. And so we're excited that we can finally have the space to sleep comfortably and maybe bring them along. And even when this slide is pulled in, you can still walk to the bathroom. So that gives you the option if you need to pull over and get something out of the camper, use the restroom, you still have that space to get in and out. So now that we've covered the interior of this camper, let's head to the outside.
So Steph gave you the tour of the inside. I'm going to give you the tour of the outside, and we'll start with the doorway here and the steps. These steps are actually 3-step system. That is a little bit of an upgrade from the RPod, which was a 2-step system. Our RPod actually had like a slide-in mechanism that was pretty tough. These actually just fold up really nicely, and that's it. And then an easy pull to get them right back out. Standard friction door. I think that's pretty standard in most RVs from what I can tell, so the wind won't really catch it. It kind of stays where it is. It's not quite as tight as the RPod, but you can see there's this little catch here that you can lock it into place. I was told to upgrade that with a metal version because that one will probably snap off the first time the wind catches it. But it's a nice little feature, I suppose. So one quick upgrade while we're on the door in the doorway here is this touchpad lock. Of course, the factory lock from Grand Design was just a standard keyed lock. We plan to be in the water doing float trips and kayaking and things like that, so we don't want to take our keys with us. We thought this would be a nice upgrade to have, and so we found this on Amazon. I think it was around $200. Not a cheap investment, but something we thought we'd get good use out of, and it is by RV Lock. Before we leave the door, one more thing that we wanted to discuss. The screen door itself is pretty standard. Screen top, screen middle, screen bottom. That's going to be a pain point for us with the dogs, I think, and so if you have any ideas on how to protect it from the dogs, let us know. I think our plan for now is to use the grooves here and put some plexiglass in here. I've actually seen people put plexiglass all the way up so they can use it as a glass screen door to keep the main door open on nice days so they can have more light in the camper. If you have any other ideas, let us know. So we'll just move down the side here of the RV just to show you all the quick features outside. So I'm not sure I like this feature, but I'm not sure it's a huge problem. This is your fresh fill port here for non-pressurized fresh fill. We'll show you another option on the other side. So if you did not, if you're not connected to city water and you don't have a threaded hose, you can just add water here. Probably the best option if you're off the grid and have a water jug that you want to dump into the fresh tank. So moving down the side of the RV, a couple quick features here for entertainment. A cable hookup on the side, and then a 110 volt plug there, so you could plug in a TV on a table outside. I don't think there's a mount point or anything like that, so you could put a TV mount. So a table would be your best option if you wanted to watch the game or something outside. While we're here, another quick upgrade from our RPod is that this unit is tandem axle. I think that'll result in it towing quite a bit easier for us. In our first towing adventure with it, it felt quite a bit better, more stable back there. I think this has a lot to do with it. And so I don't know much about axles, but I know that so far so good with the tandem versus the single axle. So we will finish up on the side of the camper, which is the passenger side, with one last feature here, which is the black flush port. I think most of you probably know how this functions, but basically you hook a non-potable water hose up to this to activate the spray jets inside your black tank to clean it out when you are dumping. Pretty standard, I think, on most units these days, but a nice thing to have to keep your black tank cleaned out. The last big feature on the passenger side of the unit is this Solera power awning. Awnings, I think, are pretty standard on most travel trailers these days. This one is pretty typical, I think. It powers all the way out, and then it's manual adjusts, so you can adjust the tilt just by pulling on a bar. Of course, like with most units, we do have outdoor speakers. I think they're marine grade, so they're water safe, of course. Not the highest quality, but do allow you to play some music while you're outside. And there's a strip of LED lights along the bottom of the awning there to give you some night lights if you're out in the dark and want a little light to help you cook or to help you get in the unit without tripping and falling on your face. So now we're at the back of the unit. Not too many features back here, but I did want to point out a few. The biggest one being that this unit came pre-installed with a Furrion shark fin camera mount. We went ahead and bought that camera because this unit's a little wider than our last one and I'm not super comfortable towing, but these cameras give us a little more confidence. I do actually think we'll add some side marker cameras, so that'll give us 3 points of view when we're on the highway or in city traffic. And I think that'll help us out quite a bit. A couple other features, pretty standard again. Spare tire. Make sure you notice the tire cover. That's very important. The bumper, pretty standard sewer hose storage. And if you come around the back, Steph, not really features, but your furnace exhaust is here. Make sure you put your pest cover screens there. Your 30 amp power hookup is here for your power cord. And then a pre-installed ladder, which makes roof access pretty easy. We'll show you up there here at the end of the external tour. But this is nice. We had to use a ladder to get up on top of the RPod, and this roof is walkable, as is the slide out, so that makes maintenance a whole lot easier. Again, on the driver's side of the unit, not too many features, but I'll show you what's here. This is your water heater exhaust. We put a screen on there. I'm not sure that you need to, but we just wanted to be safe. A little feature here, your black tank flush valve and your gray tank flush valve are here, and you actually have a light here, so if you're flushing in the dark or dumping in the dark, you have a little light to help. That's nice. I'll show you the underneath of the unit here in a minute, so let's finish this side first. Up here is your oven and microwave vent exhaust, and you actually have to manually pop the flap open if you're going to run the fan on the vent hood, so make sure you do that before you turn that on, and before you winterize and store it, make sure you close it to keep all the critters out. These, I think, are your fridge and freezer maintenance areas and vents. Probably won't need to get in there too much unless you have an issue with your refrigerator unit. The last thing to point out on the driver's side of the unit is actually also on the passenger side of the unit, and that's this big pass-through storage area up front. Plenty of room up here. There's a couple features that we'll show you over here. I'll have stuff come around, but things I can point out from here, if she can spin the camera. This is actually pre-wired for a tire pressure monitor system, so there's a wired dock here. You have to buy like the module and the actual tire transmitters, but it is pre-wired to power that module. And then it is pre-wired for a DC solar panel. I don't think it's pre-wired to use like an inverter if you want to convert the solar power to 110, but if you did want a solar power to stay off the grid with battery power, it is pre-wired for that, and there is a port up on the roof that I'll show you later. So that's pretty much the pass-through storage features. I'll show you the main control panel here if Steph comes around. So this is your main control panel here in that pass-through storage up front. I wanted to show you kind of just the features of it. So you do have a hot and cold outdoor shower. They provide a hose with a quick connect, and it's basically got a garden hose nozzle on it. So if you did want to take an outdoor shower or wash your dogs off, or spray something out, a dish pan or something outside, if that's allowed where you're camping, then you could do that. There is like this pop-out hole here that you run your fresh water hoses up through. Make sure you keep that good and closed in the wintertime to keep mice from coming up through. From here you have your fresh fill and city water connection port, and there's a blue valve here so you can switch in between. So we showed you the fresh fill port on the other side if you didn't have a threaded hose, but you can actually thread into your city connection and flip to fresh tank fill if you need to fill your tanks using a threaded hose. That's probably what we'll use the most because it's on the side that makes the most sense for us. You have a battery quick disconnect, which is just a key that you turn and then it comes out to kill all the battery power in the unit to save from that ghost bleeding of the battery, which is nice. Cable satellite hookup, and then a 110 plug here. And I think we should note that there are two lights in the pass-through also that are motion detection. You can actually leave them on all the time or turn on a motion detection, so when you open these doors, they will pop on so you can see without having to find the switch. So pretty nice little features. I'm not an expert on trailering or trailer frames, but I'll tell you what I know here about the tongue of this unit. You do have a dual propane set up here, so you get a little extra gas if you want to stay off the grid, or if it's cold out and you need that propane for heating water and the actual furnace unit. You also have a power tongue jack here by LCI Lippert. It is lighted, so if you have to land your trailer in the dark, you can get some assistance there. We actually had some trouble with our power tongue jack on our RPod. This little cutout here got some water around it. It fried the motor. We had trouble getting it to our dealer to trade it. It was the whole deal. So we have gotten a cover for this, so when it's in storage or at the campground, we can keep this motor head dry and hopefully functioning for quite a long time without the same instance. There's just one battery on this unit here, so 12 volts. Of course, people modify these all the time to add battery arrays or things like that if they add solar or if they know they're going to be off the grid for a long time. For now, just one for us, and we'll see how we do with that. I don't think we'll do much off the grid camping, but if we do, we may have to rethink our battery setup. I don't know much about the couplers. I know this coupler seems a little bit better than the coupler on our RPod. I think it's a different style. It seems a little more secure. It's easier to engage, and so I like that. We of course had to get a weight distribution hitch for that. Not part of the unit, obviously. A lot of people ask what weight distribution hitch people are using. We went with an 8,000 pound Husky centerline. It seems good so far. We haven't gone very far other than the couple hour drive from the dealer, so we'll see how it does. It's our first experience with a weight distribution hitch and built-in sway control, so we'll see how that goes. I was a little worried that 8,000 pounds may be too much. I think the dry weight of this camper is around 5,000 and maxed out it's around 7,000. And so we took our best guess with some dealer input and some online questioning, and that's what we went with. I think it was, I don't know, we'll post the price over my face, $400 or $500, something like that. Steph, put it here. One kind of downgrade on this unit that's maybe actually an upgrade is that the front panel of the unit is windowless. Our RPod had a nice big window which actually let a ton of light in, but we saw several instances with them shattering while people were going down the road. It didn't always seem like it was road debris. It seemed like maybe there was just pressure from the movement of the walls of the unit that would cause the windows to shatter. So I'm kind of glad we don't have that to worry about. While we're talking about the outside walls, they really tout the insulation level in these units. It's yet to be seen in our experience how well this insulation keeps the unit tempered, either cold or hot. I think there's like R7 floors and walls and R30 ceilings or something like that. We'll put that for sure on the screen as well to guide you there. I'm not sure if you care, but that's what they advertise, that this is a 4-season camper that's well insulated and can maintain temperatures in pretty extreme hot or cold weather. So we hope that holds true so we can extend our camping season. Features and tools underneath. We have stabilizer jacks on each corner. These are manual. I'll probably use a drill. Again, don't put weight of the camper on these. This is only to keep it from moving around while you're inside. You can see maybe, Steph, that the underbelly of this thing is enclosed. You can't see the underside of it, and that is because this has a 4 seasons package, and so Grand Design has enclosed the underbelly and ran a duct or 2 of heat underneath, so in the winter you can hopefully keep your hoses, your tanks, and your valves from freezing up and extend your camping season into cold weather without too much issue. On the other side of the steps here, you can kind of see this is a nice feature that I plan to use that our other unit didn't have. It actually looks like it was left open. This is the dump valve for the fresh tank. Hopefully no mice have crawled up in there while it's been open. I think I'll close it. And then this blue tube here is a freshwater tank overflow. So as I understand it, you can overflow your fresh tank, and when you do, the excess will flow out that hose. Probably won't test that on purpose anyway, but a nice safety net if you do walk away from your fresh tank as it's filling and overflow it. This might be a good time to tell you that my parents just bought this exact same unit, exact same year, and we've noticed a few differences in the features offered. So you can see where we pointed out the black water flush earlier. My parents have an external quick connect water spigot here, and we don't have that. If you look at the floor plan on Grand Design's website, it is on the floor plan, but asking online, it seems about 50-50 on the 2021 models. I think that may be a sourcing issue with COVID. I'm not quite sure, but yeah, some people have it, some people don't. I've heard they leak, so if that's the case, I don't want one. Otherwise, it would have been nice to have, because we kind of plan to set our kitchen setup up here, because there is also a gas quick connect here, and so we will run this to our outdoor grill. You do need a special hose without a regulator on it to connect it to your grill. So hopefully this will be our outdoor kitchen area. I think we kind of intend maybe a table here, cooler underneath since we don't have an outdoor fridge, and then we have a Camp Chef stove that will probably run along here and cook and hook to our quick connect there. So should be a nice little kitchen area. Obviously with that water hose, it'd be nice. You could wash dishes and stuff outside, but I think we'll survive without it. Okay, underneath the back, and then one more feature on the other side, and then we'll move up top for a final little tour of the roof and the features up there, and I think we'll be pretty well wrapped up with this thing. But right here, the red and blue hoses, of course your low point drains. If you're winterizing or draining your lines and tanks, you can pop those caps out there and drain. I think a lot of people put valves on those so they don't have to unscrew the caps over and over again. I'll probably do the same thing at some point this season. Put some ball valves on there so it's easy to turn them off and on. Last feature on the underside, I think your black and gray tank pulls here. The mechanisms themselves are actually in the underbelly, so they stay heated a little bit, so they hopefully don't freeze up in the wintertime. And then the pipe is combined, so you can dump with just one sewer hose instead of having to have several hooked up. Hello again. Let's see what we have up here. Bear with me while I try not to fall off the roof and show you what's up here. So you can see here is one of those vent fans, the one over the kitchen, and we actually upgraded this and put a max air vent cover on it so we can still vent the unit while we are in the rain if need be. So we can open that vent cover inside, and then the rain just hits the top and it's vented here. So we didn't do the bathroom vent yet, but we probably will. You can see the skylight there for the shower and the sewer vent there and there. You can see the air conditioner unit here. This is a Coleman Mach. I think the Furrion units are pretty typical in a lot of units, but I think there were some sourcing issues. I think it turned out that the Coleman was actually quite a bit quieter, and so we won't complain about that. I do know that my parents, as we mentioned, there are some differences. Their unit is white. I think it's also a Coleman, but I haven't seen it in person yet. But it does seem like they're using some different parts just to fulfill orders to get them out to the dealers. The slide is right there. As I mentioned, it's walkable. Probably not going to test that today. The Wine Guard antenna system for your TV. I don't think it has a ton of range, but if you need some local news when you land somewhere, you'll have that option. And then up there is your solar hookup. So if you wanted to put panels, I think you just pop this cap off and you should have plugs to run your solar array into there and then hook them together. The roof itself is a rubber roof made by Alpha Systems. I can't remember quite the material. We'll put it across the screen here just in case you care. I think there are certain types of sealants that they suggest using. A lot of people use Dicor to seal the roofs. I've heard that Grand Design even uses it in the factory but they actually recommend Alpha System sealant to reseal the roof. You can see I've done a little work here just to seal some cracks. Don't forget that 90-day roof maintenance to make sure you keep those leaks away. I think that is it for the roof. I'm out of breath because I'm out of shape, so let's head back down.
That wraps up the tour of the Imagine XLS 22MLE. If you have any questions that we didn't cover, leave them in the comments below and we'll try our best to answer them.
Yeah, we aren't experts, as we mentioned. We're just kind of telling you what we know and what we've been told and experienced in the little amount of time that we have been camping. And so call us out if we're wrong, be sure to correct us, but we tried to give the best information that we have.
We're excited to try this as, you know, kind of the perfect camper for us right now. We know there may never be anything like the perfect camper. You are dragging a house down the road and there may be issues, but we're really excited about the features of this camper. And we've got some trips planned. We're hoping to shoot some vlogs here of the Imagine actually out on the road. We've had a break in the ice and snow, but it needs to get just a little bit warmer for us. We have some short trips planned and we have a cross-country trip planned. So if everything goes as planned, we hope to have those vlogs coming soon.
Yeah, you can see it's a pretty gloomy February day here. We were hoping for a little more sunshine, but it was a good day to get out and shoot this video to show you guys how things look inside and outside this new camper. We're really excited about it. We've seen a lot of floor models since buying this and before buying this. I really can't say that I've seen anything that I really like the layout of much better, even in some of the bigger rigs. This just fits and feels really nice, so we're excited to get out in it here as spring comes around. So I think that pretty well wraps this video up. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. We'd really appreciate that. And if you want to see more of our camping adventures from out on the road this year, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell so you can be the first to know when we do post a video of our next adventure here in 2021.
We'll see you hopefully soon out on the campground.
Bye.
Bye.